of those suffering in this material world. This narration is transmitted by learned sages, eradicated one's sinful reactions, and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of God are most magnificent. Happy Teachers Day, Mataji. Happy Teachers Day for all Bhakti Sangha teachers, especially Bhakti Sangha Kids Academy teachers. I want to dedicate this verse for you all. Happy Teachers Day. Happy Teachers Day. Happy Teachers Day, Preethi Vilasini Mataji.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Balvrinda. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful verse. And yes, it is very nectarian. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Happy Teachers Day. And I wanted her to dedicate, luckily this day is holiday, so she can dedicate something for all the teachers. Thank you for all of you for teaching me and my daughter. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for your association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. And thank you for your wonderful and wonderful association and service, Mataji. So fortunate to have your personal association as well. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Happy Teachers Day to you too, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Nitu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas.
Waiting for a truck.
Thank you so much for your
11:30, so we're not turning over to after 12 o'clock break, but it's probably not on the truck, but we got to wait for the truck.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. This is Janavi.
I can see that. Hare Krishna, Janavi. Thank you so much for your association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you once again. Haribol. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you for your regular association, Mataji, and inspiring us all the time, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, is there anybody else who would like to introduce themselves? If not, shall we start the class? Preethi Vilasini Mataji, with your permission. Hare Krishna, we welcome you all on behalf of Bhakti Sangha Japa group, and we are so fortunate to have amongst ourselves Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji, whom we all love so much and then love to hear and have her association. So without further delay, I would like hand over the mic to you, Mataji. Please take and enlighten us on Caitanya Bhagavata. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Do you also want to use the quote or something before we proceed?
Yeah, I'll pull it out from the phone. September 5th, a Brahmana, even if he gets 1 lakh of rupees, 100,000 of rupees, still he is a beggar because he will not keep it. He will immediately distribute it in charity. London, September 5th, 1973. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you all so much for joining. Very grateful to everyone who has joined on this holiday. So it's very nice to see everybody. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Balavrinda and Shanavi, for making our day extra special with your attendance. Welcome to the... Okay, we'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Paramanandamadavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavas on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujao kanakavadhatao sankirtanaikapitaro kamalaya dakshao Vishwambharao dvijavarao yugadharma palao Vande jagatpriyakarao karunavatarao. I offer my respectful obeisances to the two fathers of the Sankirtan movement, whose long arms reach to their knees, who are splendid like gold, whose large eyes are lotus flowers, who are the maintainers of the world, the breast of the Brahmanas, and the protector of the Yuga Dharma, the religion of this age, which is Harinama Sankirtan, and who brings happiness to the entire world. So they have come to this place because they are very, very merciful. Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirti Stasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishveshvamurte Jayati Jayati Nitya Tasya Sarva Priyanam. All glory, all glory, all glory unto the Supreme Personality of God and Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra. All glory unto his pure fame, all glory unto the servants of him, all glories to the master of all worlds, all glory to the dancing of his dear devotees. So thank you all so much. We are in our study of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata. And currently we are in Adi Khanda, and this is chapter 11 of Adi Khanda. So I'm projecting the verses on the screen. This chapter is titled The Meeting with Ishwarapuri. Okay, since everyone likes interactive sessions, who is Ishwarapuri? Anybody?
Chaitanya
Mahaprabhu spiritual master. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spiritual master.
Oh, how nice. You both know the answer. Very nice. So this is the chapter where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gets introduced to his spiritual master, Ishwarapuri. Okay, so let's see how they met. Deva ekadina Prabhu Shri Gaura Sundara Padiya Sine Apana Grihe Patedhika Haila Ishwara Puri Sani Bhritya Deki Prabhu Namaskarila Apane. One day, Sri Gaurasundara was returning home from school. By providence, he met Sri Ishwarapuri. Seeing his eternal servant, the Lord offered him obeisances. So who is the servant here? The servant is Ishwarapuri. Why? Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, right? So the etiquette is that householders, they offer respects to members of the renounced order of life, and as it is described in the Dharma Shastras. So Grihasthas always offer respects to Vaishnavas. As a Grihastha Brahmana, Sri Gaurasundar or Lord Chaitanya, he duly offered his obeisances to the Vaishnava Sannyasi. Who is the Vaishnava Sannyasi here? Ishwarapuri, right? So when Ishwarapuri came by, as a dutiful Grihastha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he is the Supreme Lord, what did he do? He offered obeisances to this Vaishnava Sannyasi. Although Sri Gaurasundara is the Lord of the 14 worlds And although he later enacted the pastime of accepting initiation from Ishwarapuri, in reality, Ishwarapuri was the servant of Sri Gaurasundara. Right? Every living entity in this world is the servant of the Supreme Lord. So, including Ishwarapuri, who came as the spiritual master of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, in reality is a servant. But how did the Lord behave? The Lord didn't treat him like his servant. The Lord, on the other hand, he offered his respectful obeisances unto Ishwarapuri because Ishwarapuri was a great sannyasi. So let me ask you, have you seen any instance from the Srimad Bhagavatam in Krishna's life where Krishna goes and offers obeisances to his devotees and welcomes them like this? Can you think of any situation like that?
Krishna to Maharaj Yudhishthir.
Very nice. Krishna to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Yes, that's very beautiful. Actually, among the Pandavas, Yudhishthir Maharaj was the older brother. So Krishna would always offer his respects to Yudhishthir Maharaj and he would embrace Arjun, right? And
Mataji, Sudama.
yes, very good. That is very nice. So what happened when Sudama, he was an old Vipra, he was a Brahmana, right? When he comes to Lord Krishna's house. But Krishna immediately gets up, he runs to him, he goes, pays his obeisances, he welcomes him. There are three things that you heard in one of the previous classes. Kirtida Sundari Mataji was telling. When a guest comes, what are the three things you do? You offer water, you offer a seat, and what is the third thing you offer? You offer sweet words, she told us, right? So that's what Krishna did. So the minute Sudama came, he got up from his seat, he went, paid his obeisances, he welcomed him, he washed his feet, he offered him water, he offered him a seat, with seat, his own bed actually. He offered his own bed. Rukmini Devi was fanning him, and he offered very sweet words of inquiry. So very nice. Sudama. Anyone else you can think of? How about, so Sudama was a learned Brahmana. There was another.
Narada Muni.
Excellent. Yes, Narada Muni. Very nice. When Narada Muni visited the palaces of Sri Krishna, in every palace, he was amazed to see that Krishna was doing different activities. And Krishna would get up and go and receive him very enthusiastically, right? So very nice. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam records. Narada Muni was a sannyasi and he was a Brahmana. So Lord Sri Krishna, he was following the general etiquette of worldly life in one sense, the dharma as enunciated by the Dharma Shastras. So because Lord Sri Krishna was, he was a Kshatriya, he would offer his heartfelt respects to all the Brahmanas who would visit and all the sannyasis, because Lord Sri Krishna also performed the role of a Grihastha. So let's see what happened in the case of Narada Muni. Let's go to 10th canto. Okay. Tam sannirikshya bhagavan sahasotita shri paryankita sakala dharma vritam varishtaha anamya padayugalam stirasha kirita jushtena sanjalair avivashad asane swe. The Supreme Lord is the greatest upholder of religious principles. Thus, when he noticed Narada, he rose at once from Goddess Shri's bed. So he was sitting on Goddess Shri's bed. So he got up from Goddess Shri's bed. He bowed down his crowned head at Narada's feet and, joining his palms, had the sage sit on his own seat. So what did Krishna do? He gave his asana, his own asana. He gave it to Narada Muni and requested Narada Muni to sit down. So he put his shirasa as his head, shirasa with kirita. So Lord Sri Krishna was the king, right? He was the prince. But still, that head that had the kirita, he bowed down when Narada Muni came and he put it at the feet of Narada Muni and with Sa Anjali. Anjali means joint palms. Okay, so he welcomed him with the joint palms. He had him sit down on his own seat. So that is how Sri Krishna, who is the upholder of all religion, right? We saw in this verse also, It is the dharma. The dharma shastras have told that a grihastha should welcome a sannyasi and offer him a sweet words of welcome, offer him a seat and give him water. This is enunciated by the dharma shastras. So now who is the greatest upholder of all religious principles? Obviously, it is the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So that's why Krishna is called as Dharma Britham. So he's the upholder of all religions. He's the best. He's Varishta Dharma Britham. So he immediately followed the etiquette. He put his head at the feet of Narada Muni, joined his palms, and then invited the sage to actually sit on his own feet. This is Sri Krishna. The Lord bathed Narada's feet and then put the water on his own head. Although Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme spiritual authority of the universe and the master of his devotees, it was proper for him to behave in this way. For his name is Brahmanya Deva. So what is the verse that glorifies Krishna as Brahmanya Deva? When you offer bhoga, what do you say?
Brahmaya Devaya Jagati Jaya Krishaya Govindaya Namo Namah.
Wonderful. Namo Brahmanya Deva. Brahmanya Deva means the Lord who's always caring for the Brahmanas. Okay, the Lord who favors the Brahmanas. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Right? So like that, his name is Brahmanya Devaya, the one who favors the Brahmanas. So Sri Krishna honored the sage Narada by bathing his feet. And even though the water that bathes the Lord's own feet becomes the Ganges, the ultimate holy shrine. So actually the feet that is washing Krishna's lotus feet is Ganges. That means that Ganges is so pure because it is emanating from the Lord's own feet. But look at the Supreme Lord. You know, his water is being drunk by people. The water that is coming out from his feet has been taken by people as the purest. They put it on their head, they drink the water, they sip the water, they use it for all purificatory rites. But this Supreme Lord, he is so happy to honor and bathe the feet of his devotee. So this is how the Lord behaves when he sees his devotee. So actually, Narada Muni would want to purify himself with the Ganges, but Krishna is bathing the feet of Narada Muni by himself. So like this, Krishna in Dwaraka, he was enjoying beautiful pastimes like that of a human being. Similarly, we see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here. He's behaving like a human being. Though he is the Supreme Lord, though he's, he's the well-wisher of all the Brahmanas and he's the source of everything and the Ganges is emanating from his lotus feet, still he takes the opportunity to take the water that is washed from his devotees' lotus feet and he puts it on his head. So that is how the Lord behaves. This is how the Lord shows the world that this is how you treat saintly people. So he was showing by example. The exact same thing was being done by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Lord of the universe, how did he behave? In front of his devotee, in front of his own servant, he behaved like a servant. After fully worshipping the great sage of the demigods, according to the Vedic injunctions, Lord Krishna, who's himself the original sage, Narayana, and friend of Nara, conversed with Narada, and the Lord's measured speech was as sweet as nectar. Finally, the Lord asked Narada, what may we do for you, our Lord and Master? So you see in these three verses that we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, the three things were exemplified. Krishna did three things. He offered a seat. We saw that, right? He got up from his seat and he offered the seat. He washed the lotus feet. He offered water. And thirdly, he offered beautiful speech. The Lord's measured speech was as sweet as nectar. How beautiful. So the Lord asked him how he's doing and if his journey was okay. So he asks him all this. And the Lord is glorified as Narasakha. Narasakha means one who's the well-wisher of all living entities, right? In the previous verse, he's glorified as Brahmanya Deva. Now he's glorified as Narasakha. Narasakha. He's the well-wisher of every living being and he sets the perfect example. So that's exactly what Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing in this verse. So then let's see what happened after that. Ati anirvachaniya Thakura Sundara Sarva Mate Sarva Vilakshana Gunadara. Vishwambhara's personal beauty was anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means indescribable. You know, the Mayavadis, they say Maya is anirvachaniya. Maya is indescribable because at one point, they are unable to describe the qualities of Maya. And if you ask too many questions, they'll say, oh, Maya is anirvachaniya. But look at what look at what Vrindavan Das Thakur is telling here. He's telling the personal beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was anirvachaniya, indescribable. Because who can describe the unlimited glories of the Lord? So if it is limited, if it is within a particular capacity, you can use choicest words and you can describe. But if he's so beautiful, it is beyond description, right? So that's why very wisely the word anirvachaniya is used here. Sri Vishwambhara's personal beauty was indescribable. He's so beautiful. And what was he? Sarva Vilakshana Gunadhara. Vilakshana means extraordinary. Lakshana means the qualities that describe an object is a lakshana, right? But Vilakshana means extraordinary qualities. What was extraordinary about the Lord? All his wonderful qualities, Gunadhara, whatever he possessed, everything was extraordinary. His beauty was indescribable and the qualities he possessed was extraordinary. It was very, very hard for us to describe both his beauty and his wonderful qualities. And who was looking at him at this point in time? Ishwarapuri was observing Nimai Pandit. Okay, so Ishwarapuri saw Nimai Pandit came, and the minute he saw his extraordinary beauty, what happened? That is what we're going to see. यद्यपि ताहा न मर्मा केहा नहीं जाने तथापि साध्वस करे देखी सर्वजने. Though the Lord looked so beautiful, he had possessed great qualities, still, although the people did not know his real identity, they nevertheless had great respect for him. So many people did not understand the identity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Channa Avatar. Who describes him as Channa Avatar in the 7th canto? Anyone knows? He celebrated. Yeah, correct. 7th canto, immediately the answer is Prahlad Maharaj. Very good. So when we say 7th canto, our mind should go towards Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Correct? Yes, correct. So it's a very beautiful verse that describes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as being Channa Avatar. Here we go. Ittam Ritriya Krishi Deva Chasavatarai Lokan Vibhavayasi Hamsi Jagat Pratipan Dharmam Mahapurusha Pashi Yuganuvrittam Channaha Kalau Yad Abhavas Triyugo Atasatvam. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principle. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Triyugi, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. So here the word Channa, Channa means covered. Okay, you see a word-to-word meaning Channa, covered. In Kalau, in the age of Kali, the Lord comes as covered. It's very difficult to identify, oh, this is the Supreme Lord. So since the Lord was performing such pastimes, although the people did not know his real identity, people could not figure out that this is the Supreme Lord. Nevertheless, they had respect for him because the minute they saw him, they thought that he's very special, right? His personal beauty was indescribable. He was the reservoir of all extraordinary qualities. So everyone knew there is something special about this. They could not understand that this boy was the Supreme Lord. Let's see what Ishwarapuri thought. Kahina Ishwarapuri Prabhura Sharira Siddha Purushera Praya Parama Gambhira. When Ishwarapuri saw Nimai's features, how did Nimai look? He looked Parama Gambhira. He looked very grave. And he looked, he describes here as Siddha Purusha. Okay. But we'll see the commentary as to why in this particular verse, the Lord is described as Siddha Purusha. We'll get that clear in a minute. I'll read the translation. When Ishwarapuri saw Nimai's features, he could understand that Nimai was a most grave and exalted personality. Siddha Purusha, someone who's very exalted. And Gambhira is one who is very grave. Okay. So a person who can study the features, there is a shastra called Samudrika Lakshana Shastra. So if you master that shastra, you'll be able to do all this face reading, body language reading, all that you can do very nicely. So just by observing certain features, a great personality can be identified. When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful features are described both in the Charitamrita and the Bhagavata, that is the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. The features are discussed in great detail, how his eyes look, how his nose is, how the bodily hair is. So all of this is described so that we can understand he's not an ordinary person. When the Supreme Lord descends, he doesn't appear like an ordinary person. He looks extra special. That's why Krishna is known as Bhagavan, right? He's got all these 6 different opulences. And one of the important opulences is beauty, striking beauty. You can definitely identify the Supreme Lord because he would look different from the rest of them, something like that. So here, let's see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has to tell us. He says, the word Siddha Purusha Praya means equal to a Mahabhagavata. One should not understand that the word Praya or almost means that when Puripad saw Gaurasundara, he did not even consider him as a Siddha Purusha. So when you read the translation, you should not think that he almost looked like a Siddha Purusha. He was not yet there. You should not think like that. Nimai, he was the most worshipable. He accepted the mood of a devotee. So he appeared like a Siddha Purusha. So the Supreme Lord himself, he took the role of a Siddha Purusha. It is not that Nimai was almost a Siddha Purusha. So that's how you should do the translation. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is warning us. Don't think that this word Praya means he's almost become like a Siddha Purusha. That is not the point. He was dressed like, he was looking like a Siddha Purusha, right? Looking like meaning though he's the Supreme Lord, he had this appearance of a Siddha Purusha and a very great personality. So now Ishwarapuri, he could understand there is something special about this boy. So when he identified that there was something special about him, he had a question. What was the question he asked? He asked, Jignasena tomara ki nama vipravara ki punti padavo pada konstane ghara. Ishwarapuri inquired, oh, best of the Brahmanas. So the minute he saw Nimai Pandit, obviously, from the looks he could make out, from the sacred thread and other symbols, he could make out that this boy is a Brahmana. So he calls them, oh, Brahmana Vipra. Vipravara. Vipravara means Vipra is a Brahmana. So Vipravara means best of the Brahmanas. Oh, best of the Brahmanas. What is your name? Tomara ki naam. What is your name? What are you studying and teaching? And where do you live? So he asked these very appropriate questions. So Nimai Pandit, the great scholar, was moving around and Ishwarapuri had these questions for him. Teshe sabe bolina Nimai Pandita tumi se baliya bada haila harshita. When the others replied, he is Nimai Pandit, Ishwarapuri joyfully said, oh, you Nimai. So Ishwarapuri had heard that there is Nimai Pandit in this region, in this particular region of Navadvip. So when the boys all around them said, oh, don't you know him? He's Nimai Pandit. Ishwarapuri was very, very happy. You are Nimai. So very happy to see his Lord. Bhikshani mantana prabhu karilenan thane mahadhare grihe lai chalita apane. The Lord invited Ishwarapuri for lunch and then respectfully brought him home. So this is the etiquette, right? The etiquette of every householder is to honor the people both in the sannyas ashram, in the brahmachari ashram, and in the vanaprastha ashram. The duty of every householder is to actually protect and sustain the rest of the people in other ashrams. That is the duty of a householder. So, in the commentary, it is written that the duty of a householder brahmana is to invite the Vaishnava sannyasis to their home for lunch. Especially when you see a sannyasi, you should definitely pay your obeisances and invite them home for a lunch. Therefore, as an ideal householder brahmana, Gaurasundara invited Sri Puri Pad to his house for lunch. And this is the etiquette we follow even to this day, right? If there are visiting sannyasis or brahmacharis or vanaprashthis, we immediately invite them, please come home for lunch. In fact, it is still prevalent in many parts of India even to this day. So people who visit temples, out of the blues, you'll get invitation from others. This culture is prevalent in the interiors of India. Of course, cities are very different, but still that culture is there. So this is the etiquette of every householder. So when they see such personalities, they invite them, please come and eat something in our house. Now, when you give an invitation, of course, it is an opportunity for you to serve them. But as far as they are concerned, the sannyasis are concerned, for them, it is not about just coming to your house and eating nice prasadam and taking rest. That is not what they are coming for. Every sannyasi who comes to our house actually comes to give us mercy. So actually, we get benefited. Actually, we are the beneficiary all the time. Even when we invite them to our house. Let's see how a sannyasi behaves when he comes to the house. What does he do? What does he give you? What does the sannyasi give you? Anyone wants to take a guess? When a sannyasi comes to your house, what do you get from them? Anybody? Have you gotten anything at all from a sannyasi?
No. Mercy.
Mercy. Mercy in what form?
Mercy.
Okay, in what form? Mercy is a but in
They
what
will
form?
give you mercy and they will be very respectful.
Is that? They will?
We can hear about Krishna Katha.
Yes, we can hear Krishna Katha. Very good, very good. What else did you say? Point taken. We can hear Krishna Katha. That is one of the answers. Anything else?
Association, Mataji.
Association. Very nice. So we get to hear Krishna Katha. We get
Giving charity to the cows.
Oh, really? Yes, very nice. We can also give charity to the cows. Very sweet. Yes. Okay. Nice answer. So that is all correct. So let's see what Ishwarapuri did when he went to this house of Nimai Pandit. Okay, this is what all Vaishnavas do when they come to the house of other Vaishnavas. So what do? The answer is very simple, Harikatha, right? So let's see what happens. Krishnera Naivedya Sachi Kari Lena Giya Bhikshakari Vrishni Grahe Vasila Asiya. Mother Shachi prepared an offering for Krishna, and after honoring the prasad, what did Ishwarapuri do? He sat in the temple room. Vishnu Grihe Vasila Asiya. So what is Vishnu Grihe? Vishnu Grihe is house of Vishnu. Where is the house of Vishnu? It's our altar, right? So, or the deity room. So as soon as he took the bhoga, Krishna Naivedya. Naivedya means offering the bhoga to Krishna. So that comes back as prasadam. So when Shachi Devi got the prasadam, she served it. She did bhikshakari. She served it, like a bhiksha to who? To Ishwarapuri. So Ishwarapuri, he ate it to his heart satisfaction. He honored prasad, right? We just don't eat prasad. We take it with a lot of respect because it is remnants of Sri Krishna. It is, Prabhupada says, it is mixed with the saliva of Sri Krishna. How beautiful. So with great love and devotion, he honors the prasad, and then Ishwarapuri, he sat in Vishnu Graha, in the temple of Sachi Mata's house. Again, when someone visits your house, that's the first thing they do, right? The sannyasis or brahmacharis or whoever you're inviting, even your friends, grihasthas, whoever it may be, what do? First, when they enter the house, they pay obeisances to the deities in your house. So that's the first thing that anyone does. So like that, he goes and he sits in the temple room. Krishnera prasthava sabha kahite lagila kahita Krishnera kata avasha hoila. What did he do? He did Krishnera Prastava. Prastava means to speak about the glories of the Lord, right? Prasthav, it's a very common word that is used in many Indian languages. Krishnera Prastava, Sada kahite, Lagila kahite, Krishnera Katha, Avashahaila. So thereafter, Ishwari Puri became fully absorbed while describing the topics of Krishna Katha. When he was doing Krishna Katha, he was completely absorbed doing topics of Krishna. So how absorbed was he? That is the commentary we have to focus on. So while discussing the topics of Krishna, Ishwari Puri's spiritual senses became almost inert. So we all have our gross senses, right? We have your ears, nose, eyes, tongue, all of this. So all these gross senses are there. Now, in different books, like there are references in the Bhagavatamrita. There is also a reference in one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books about spiritual senses. So basically, the spiritual senses are beneath the gross senses. We are awakened by the mercy of Srimati Radharani. Okay, as we practice Krishna consciousness, as we use our senses in the service of Krishna, like you use your tongue in tasting prasadam, you use your tongue in glorifying the Lord, you use your ears in hearing Harikatha. So like this, as you keep using your gross senses in the service of the Lord, eventually, if Radharani is very, very merciful upon us, she will actually awaken our spiritual senses that are there beneath the gross senses. Okay, so when the spiritual senses become awakened, that time the devotees who are hearing Harikatha or speaking Harikatha, they get into a spiritual ecstasy. Okay, so see what's happening here. While discussing topics of Krishna, Ishwara Puri's spiritual senses became almost inert. He became intoxicated in the service of the Lord as if he were directly situated in the spiritual world. While he was talking and hearing about the glories of the Lord. The subtle and gross designations of the conditioned souls who are averse to the Lord are obstacles on the path of realizing the kingdom of Vaikuntha. By discussing topics of Hari, such obstacles are surpassed. So what is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur telling us? That we have to continuously hear and chant. Okay, so we have to continuously discuss the topics of Hari, and if you continuously do this, you will realize who Krishna is and you will attain Vaikuntha. Okay, so this is our duty. But how was Sri Ishwara Puri speaking Harikatha? He was speaking Harikatha with great absorption, very, very absorbed, so much so that everything around him became inert. He was so absorbed in doing Harikatha. So this is actually a very beautiful instruction for everybody, that one should be completely immersed in hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. Now, we may all say, oh, when we hear, our spiritual senses, they do not become inert, or we do not get so absorbed. But at least we can try our best. If we cannot be like Sri Ishwara Puri, where we are completely absorbed and lost, we can at least try, we can at least try to give some attention. Like in today's morning class, we heard about the yajna, right? Sankirtan yajna. When we are chanting the holy names of the Lord, someone may ask, how is it a yajna? Where is the yajna kunda? Yajna kunda is the pit where the sacrifices, the sacrificial fire is burning, and where you offer the oblations of ghee. Okay, so one may ask, where is that pit? We heard in today's class, that is our ears. The ears that we have, that is the yajna kunda. So we hear Harikatha, we hear the chanting of the holy names. But we should try our best. That is what is being put forth here. We try our best to be at least a little absorbed. A little bit, if not like Ishwara Puri, at least a little. When Krishna was doing his pastimes in Vrindavan, everybody's thoughts, words, mind, everything was absorbed in Krishna. Wherever Krishna was. Sometimes Krishna would play the flute to call out to the cows, and sometimes the gopis would hear the flute and they would just give up everything. They would just drop everything and run to Krishna. So there is this very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in the Venu Gita, the glories of Sri Krishna's flute. Gavascha Krishna Mukha Nirgata Venu Gita Piyusham Uttabita Karna Puta Pibantya Shwasnuta Sthana Paya Kavalaha Smatashtur Govindam Atmani Drisharo Kalaha Sprishayanta. Using their upraised ears as vessels, the cows are drinking the nectar of the flute song flowing out of Krishna's mouth. The calves, their mouth full of milk from their mother's moist nipples, stand still as they take Govinda within themselves through their tear-filled eyes and embrace him with their hearts. So even the calves, the cows, the gopis, everybody in Vrindavan, there are descriptions of how the river Yamuna would become still when she hears the flute of Krishna. The stones would melt. That which is very hard would melt when they hear the flute of Krishna. So anything to do with Krishna, be it Harikatha or the names of Krishna or the Srimad Bhagavatam that is not different from Krishna or the flute sound of Krishna, one should be completely absorbed in it. And the Vrajavasis, including the animals and the trees, showed by example. So here it is described that, the cows would be drinking milk from their mother. Now, drinking milk for a baby is very important. Those who have babies would know, they'll be completely focused, complete focus. Of course, some kids trouble their mothers, but generally, these babies, they just like to suck the milk really, really fast. They're like in full attention, they are doing it. Now, imagine this little calf, the calves in Vrindavan, they were actually having their mouths full of milk. They were not even swallowing it. Okay, they were holding it in their mouth and watching when they heard Krishna's flute, because they would get so absorbed in Krishna's flute that the milk would just stay in their mouth and they would not even gulp it down. It is in another verse that is mentioned. I'm not able to pull out these verses, but definitely you can find these verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. That the cows who are chewing grass, right? Like you go and you chew. I mean, you don't have to chew. When the cows chew grass, there is some internal, like for example, when you're eating, okay, your favorite, you're eating these Rice Krispies or the chakli or whatever that your mother has made. Or you have made at home, or even eating food. When you're chewing, there is some internal noise, right? That prevents you from hearing external things very clearly. So if you have to hear something very clearly, you might stop chewing for a minute and you would focus and hear. Like that, the cows, when they are eating the grass and suddenly they hear Krishna's flute, they would stop. They would just stop and they would look up with ears that are like upraised vessels, it is mentioned here, because they don't want to miss drinking that nectar of Krishna's flute. So they would be in standstill position. And after all, they can grasp all the nectar that is coming from Krishna's flute, then only they would begin chewing their food. So they didn't even want that little internal noise to disturb their absorption in Krishna. So like that, we see so many stories of how devotees were completely absorbed in chanting the glories of Krishna or hearing the glories of Krishna. The classic example is, of course, we have Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami. Right? 7 days without food, without water. What a great glory. Shukadev Goswami, imagine, like we talk for 1 hour, we need a glass of water next to us and we keep gulping water. Shukadev Goswami sat for 7 days and Parikshit Maharaj without food and water. He just wanted to be absorbed, completely grasping every single thing that Shukadev Goswami was telling. It's not that he was, just sitting there without food and water and he was not grasping, because you would see in every other place, he's asking very relevant questions. Parikshit Maharaj, he has so many questions and he doesn't want Shukadev Goswami to stop even for a minute, right? So like that, there are many, many great personalities who have shown us how important it is to be absorbed in Harikatha. And the more we are absorbed in Harikatha, the more bliss that one really, one can really feel the happiness in Krishna consciousness. So there is this story of Srinivasacharya from, one of our acharyas who came after the Goswamis. So after the period of the Goswamis, they were the torch bearers of the Sampradaya. And one such acharya was Srinivasacharya. Actually, Srinivasacharya, he was so eager to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, learn the Vaishnava scriptures from the Goswamis. So he went to such great extent to somehow or the other go and take lessons and then learn all of this. Today we have these scriptures so easily available to us, and sometimes we don't even give it any serious attention. We take things for granted because, of course, this internet world is so good that you can just log on to a call and you can hear Harikatha forever. But sometimes we take these things too lightly. In those days, everything was very, very difficult, and they would go to such great extremes to somehow or the other at least obtain a single copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. It was so difficult for them. So there was one such personality by the name Srinivas Acharya, and he had heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Puri, and he hurriedly went to Puri to actually go and see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But as he entered Puri, he heard from the Vaishnavas there that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had just withdrawn his pastimes and he had gone back to the spiritual world. So he was very, very upset. He thought he could see the Lord and get some instruction from the Lord. But then he was directed to Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who was still living at that time. And Srinivas Acharya very humbly went to Gadadhar Pandit and he requested Gadadhar Pandit to teach him Srimad Bhagavatam. Because among the associates of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar Pandit is known as the relisher of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would sit together and hours together they would study Srimad Bhagavatam. They would repeatedly read the stories of Prahalad and Dhruva again and again. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes. They would be so absorbed. And Gadadhar Pandit's absorption is such that when he would read the Srimad Bhagavatam, tears would flow from his eyes, and the entire script that they had become wet with tears, and all the letters had all got wiped off because of the tears that were emanating from Gadadhar Pandit's eyes. So it had wiped off the entire script. And remember, in those days, it was not easy. It was not like, you can type something on a Word document, save it, and then hit a print button and you get loads of printed material. It was not like that. They had to really, etch on palm leaves. It was not easy. Okay, so they took a lot of effort to make each of these copies of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Gadadhar Pandit, he told Srinivas Acharya that, sorry, I'm so sorry, all my copies are gone because of these tears. They're all wiped off. I don't even have a proper copy. They're all destroyed. I don't even have a proper copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. But then he tells Srinivas Acharya that you should go to Narahari Sarkar. Narahari Sarkar lives in Sri Khanda, that is, somewhere near Bengal. So you go there and you go all the way there and ask him for a copy. I'm sure he'll have another copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srinivas Acharya, he had to walk all the way and get this copy of Srimad Bhagavatam from Narahari Sarkar. And then he comes back to Puri so that he can give it to Gadadhar Pandit and learn from Gadadhar Pandit. But then by the time he came back, look at the tragedy. By the time this Srinivas Acharya came back to learn from Gadadhar Pandit left the world because he was suffering so much in separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He left the world. So now when Srinivas Acharya came back to Puri, he realized that Gadadhar Pandit was not there anymore. So he became devastated. He just wanted to give up his life. He was telling, I'm just going to light fire and I'm going to enter that fire. I have to somehow or the other, get the mercy of these Vaishnavas, get an Acharya and learn from him properly. But then Gadadhar Pandit was very merciful upon him that he appears in a vision and he tells that he should actually eventually go to Vrindavan. But before going to Vrindavan, he should go to Kardaha, take lessons from Janava Devi, and from there he should go to Abhiram Thakur, take lessons from Abhiram Thakur, who is non-different from Subal Saka, and then he should go to Vrindavan. So now imagine again, he has to go to different places to learn Srimad Bhagavatam, to learn the Vaishnava scriptures. So Srinivas Acharya, again, he begins traveling. He goes all the way to take lessons from Janava Devi. He spends some time there. He takes lessons from Janava Devi. And then he goes to Abhiram Thakur. Now, Abhiram Thakur is not an easy person. Okay, so Abhiram Thakur, he wanted to test his disciple. So what he did was, he told Srinivas Acharya that, he wanted to test if the Srinivas Acharya really has a service attitude. Because if you do not have a selfless service attitude, it is very difficult to attract Krishna's mercy. And only if you serve a Vaishnava without any expectation in return, you will get the blessing of a Vaishnava. And with the blessings will come only if your service is unconditional, right? All these parameters, Abhiram Thakur wanted to test on Srinivasa Acharya. And when we get the blessings of a Vaishnava, only Krishna even wants to look at us, right? So this is a big circle, to get Krishna's mercy is not easy. So when Srinivasa Acharya went to Abhiram Thakur put him through a test. He said, collect some ingredients for bhoga, go to the banks of the river Ganges, get some water, get some cow dung patties, light a fire on the cow dung patties, make your own stove, and cook your own bhoga. He said, go collect ingredients, get water, do everything, collect a pot, and you cook your own bhoga, and then eat the prasadam, offer it to Krishna, eat the prasadam, then we will start our scriptural discussion. So Srinivasa Acharya, according to the instructions of Abhiram Thakur, he goes and he tries to, collect all the ingredients. So he goes, he gets some cow dung patties, he lights a fire, he makes a stove. Then he gets a pot, he collects some, rice, dal, sabji, and then he lights a fire, he collects water from the river Ganges, and he starts cooking his meal. So after the meal is cooked, he very lovingly offers it to Krishna. But then at this point in time, Abhiram Thakur, he sends some of his disciples and he gives this instruction to his disciples. He tells his disciples, my dear disciple, you see there, that boy, Srinivasa Acharya, he's cooking bhoga. So he's going to offer it to Krishna. The minute he offers it to Krishna, just go stand there and ask him for prasad. So these disciples, they go and they stand in front of Srinivasa Acharya and they ask Srinivasa Acharya, oh, we are very hungry. Can you give us some prasad? Now, at this point in time, Srinivasa Acharya had not eaten for many days. He had been walking all the way from one place to the other, and he had not eaten for many days. When he was just about to eat, the Vaishnavas came and asked him. Immediately, Srinivasa Acharya, without even a single thought, he just shared everything that he had, just like Ranti Dev. Have you heard the story of Ranti Dev in Srimad Bhagavatam? Ranti Dev was also in such a position. He had fasted for many days, and one by one, all the demigods came to test him. He was left with only a glass of water, and he was ready to give that also to a Chandala and a dog who was very thirsty. And then finally, all these personalities, they appeared as demigods and they blessed him. So now Abhiram Thakur was testing the Srinivasa Acharya. So immediately Srinivasa Acharya, he just gave everything that he had. It is not that, he was hiding prasadam like we do, right? We go and then the minute we see something interesting, we just make our little gulab jamun pack, little kachori pack, and then we keep it separately for us. We hide it, before someone else can take it. It was not even like that. He was so sincere. Whatever he had, he just gave it away. He just gave it away to these disciples. He didn't know who they were, of course. So he gave it away to these disciples of Abhiram Thakur. And Abhiram Thakur was very impressed by his selfless service attitude. The only focus that Srinivasa Acharya had was selfless service to Vaishnavas. Abhiram Thakur had a whip called as Jayamangala. So this whip, if he would hit anyone with his whip, that person would get love of God. So he gave him one whip, one slap for Srinivasa Acharya. Srinivasa Acharya's senses all awakened, his hair stood on end. Then he gave him another whip. He started developing symptoms of love of God. Then he gave him the third whip. He started jumping and dancing in ecstasy. Then Abhiram Thakur's wife said, okay, I think you should stop it. He's a young boy. He can't handle more than this. So he was completely enamored and completely overwhelmed by love of God. So that was how actually this Srinivasa Acharya received the mercy of Abhiram Thakur. So he studies under Abhiram Thakur, and finally he's sent to Vrindavan with an instruction that he should get lessons under Rupa and Sanatan. So with so much desire to learn, to be absorbed in Harikatha, our Srinivasa Acharya, he travels all the way on foot. From here till Vrindavan. So this is not easy. Remember, he's going to Puri, he's going to Bengal, he's going to Vrindavan, he's going all over the place on foot, for days together, traveling without food. It's not easy. So he went to the Vishram Ghat, that's the entrance to Mathura. Krishna bathed there. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed there when they enter Vrindavan. So similarly, Srinivas Acharya also, he bathes there. But then when he's bathing there and he's so excited that he's finally going to see Rupa and Sanatan, and he can also settle down in Vrindavan, when he was so excited about all this, at that time, he heard some people in the banks of Vishram Ghat discussing how unfortunate Sanatan Goswami has left us. Rupa Goswami has also left this world. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami has also left this world. Kashishwar Pandit has left this world. We were discussing like this. Immediately, he felt so miserable. He was thinking, what am I to do? What am I to do? I came here to study under Sanatan and Rupa Goswamis. And he feels devastated. So he goes to the temple of Radha Govinda and he falls at the entrance of the Radha Govinda temple, so helplessly. But then again, he's given this instruction that actually he should meet Jiva Goswami and Gopala Bhatta Goswami. He should take instructions from Jiva Goswami and he should get initiated under Gopala Bhatta Goswami. Both Rupa and Sanatan, they appear in a vision to him and tell him that, please don't give up hope. Your actual guru is Gopala Bhatta Goswami. You will get initiated by him and you will study all the scriptures under the great expert scholar, Srila Jiva Goswami, the greatest scholar and expert in all scriptures ever known in the history of this universe, Srila Jiva Goswami. Yeah. So Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srinivas Acharya. So he accepts these instructions. And then finally, actually, before he wakes up, Jiva Goswami comes and finds him at the entrance of Radha Govinda temple. And then he takes him and he introduces him to Gopala Bhatta Goswami. And Gopala Bhatta Goswami initiates him and he gives him the special instruction that he should study in detail the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the literatures of the Goswamis, which are in fact the expansions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? All the literatures that is written by our Goswamis is an expansion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he got this instruction that he should study this in great detail and then take copies of these literatures and spread it everywhere in Bengal. No, Srinivas Acharya's life was not easy. He carried all of this, and then there is a story that a dacoit stole all the copies of all these scriptures. So it was a big story, and finally, with the help of the king, he got back these scriptures and he initiated that entire kingdom. So the point here that we are trying to make is that these acharyas and our predecessors, they have taken so much efforts. They have taken so much efforts in giving us these glorious scriptures from where we can hear this Harikatha that is so purifying to the heart. So like Ishwarapuri, he was, he was so absorbed, it says in this verse. He was so fully absorbed by discussing the topics of Lord Hari. Just like how the speaker should be fully absorbed, even the listeners also should be fully absorbed. So we can all make small attempts, just to show our gratitude to these wonderful acharyas who have taken so much effort to deliver us. Verse number 95. Apurva premera dhara dikiya santosha na prakashe apana lokera dina dosha. The Lord was satisfied to see his unprecedented symptoms of love, which he did not disclose due to people's misfortunate position. So these symptoms of ecstasy, he didn't disclose to everybody, Ishwarapuri. He didn't make an open show of symptoms of ecstasy. When we are speaking Harikatha, when we are hearing Harikatha, or when we are anywhere, we don't openly make a show of symptoms of love. So Nimai Pandit, he was really appreciative. He was very appreciative of Sri Ishwarapuri. And he could understand that Ishwarapuri is not externally exhibiting their symptoms of love because of the situation of the ordinary people in this world. People, they don't understand these things. And then it can also become a source of encouragement for Prakrit Sahajas, these imitators, to take advantage. So he was very appreciative of how Srila Ishwarapuri conducted himself. Let's see what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has to say. The words Dinadosh are explained as follows. Due to the Dinadosh, I'm so sorry, Dinadosha are explained as follows. Due to the conditioned soul's aversion to Lord Hari, they are cheated from the wealth of service attitude. Therefore, they are called as Dina or Kripana, poor or miserly, not Brahmana. The Vaishnavas do not reveal their good fortune to all the conditioned souls. The hearts of those who make a show of Vaishnavism to impress people are full of duplicity. If someone is trying to make a show that they are a great devotee, just to impress you, that is being duplicitous. Seeing the disqualification of ordinary people, Vaishnavas do not allow them to know the symptoms of their worship or the characteristics of their service. If a person is bragging about their service, if a person is telling them, oh, I have this special relationship with the Lord and I saw this, I saw that, then you have to get alerted, right? Because the Prakrita Sahajiyas claim to be Vaishnavas, they cannot recognize pure devotees. In their first encounters with Sri Ramananda Rai and Sri Pundarika Vidyanidhi respectively, Sri Pradyumna Mishra and the residents of Navadvip foolishly considered them as attached to material enjoyment. This is, the point here is that just by externals, you cannot judge anyone. Sometimes externally, a person may look like he's very materialistic. He or she is very materialistic. They may not put on this devotee cloak, okay? Like, I'm the perfect devotee. I behave in a certain way. I'm going to impress everyone in this way. They may not even, real Vaishnavas won't even do that. There are some Vaishnavas like Pundarika Vidyanidhi who was appearing to be a very materialistic person. He was chewing pan and, he was wearing gorgeous silken robes and he was enjoying. But actually, he was a great devotee inside. Within, he was such a great devotee. So when he heard a verse that was glorifying Krishna, he would faint in ecstasy. So you cannot judge anyone by externals. Just because they are making a show of being a great devotee, don't get carried away by that. Being a devotee is a lot more deeper than the externals. We will see in the 16th chapter of this book that a pseudo Brahmana was beaten by a snake charmer. We heard the story in our previous session. So I'm not going to repeat the story. Adi Gadadhar Prabhu already covered the story. We will see in the 16th chapter of this book that a pseudo Brahmana was beaten by a snake charmer simply for imitating Sri Haridas Thakur. Since the devotees who relish love of God do not exhibit their loving sentiments either in the marketplace or to the materialistic Sahajiyas, the Prakrita Sahajiyas consider such pure devotees of the Lord to be sense enjoyers and thus drown in the mire of offenses. So if we look at the externals of a devotee and judge a devotee, thinking that, oh, he's only a materialistic person, we do not understand his heart, we are going to drown in the mire of offenses. Because this evil practice was going on in the world, Sri Puripad, though a Vaishnava sannyasi, did not exhibit transformations of love in the dress of a sannyasi. It was very hidden, whatever he was experiencing. 2 more verses and we'll stop. Masakata Gopinata Acharyera Ghare Rahila Ishvara Puri Navadipa Pure. Ishwarapuri stayed for a few months in Navadvip at the home of Sri Gopinathacharya. Now, this is very sweet. I want everyone to just pay attention here because it's so beautiful. The heart of devotees are so, they are very complex and they are also very sweet. Why did Ishwarapuri stay in the house of Gopinathacharya? Now, here is the analysis that is being made by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says, Gopinath Acharya, his actual identity is that he's an incarnation of Brahma. Who else was the incarnation of Brahma in Chaitanya Leela? Anyone?
Haridas Thakur.
Haridas Thakur.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. So Haridas Thakur was a combination of Brahma and Prahalad, if I'm not wrong. And here we have Gopinath Acharya. So he's also identified as an incarnation of Brahma, the creator of the universe. Who was Brahma? Gopinath Acharya, right? So now, who comes in the Sampradaya of Brahma, the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, we call it, right? So this Ishwarapuri, he was coming in the Sampradaya of Madhva Muni, meaning Madhvacharya. So we see here, this Ishwarapuri, since he was coming in the Brahma Sampradaya, he thought he will take shelter of his guru. Okay, it so nicely Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has written this. I'm going to read it for you because it's so interesting. I'll read the whole thing. And this is the synopsis of what he's telling. He's telling that Gopinath Acharya was an incarnation of Brahma. Ishwarapuri had come in the disciplic succession of Brahma because he was he came a few generations after Madhva Muni or Madhvacharya. And therefore, because he came in the Brahma Sampradaya, he decided to take shelter in the house of his own guru, who is none other than Brahma. So just let's read this in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's words. Gopinath Acharya was a resident of Navadvipa, the son-in-law of Maheshwara Visharad, who lived in Vidyanagar, and the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Madhusudana Vachaspati. In the opinion of some, he was the incarnation of Lord Brahma, as it is described in Gaurganadesh Deepika. That is where all the secrets are revealed. The identities of everyone is discussed in this book, Gaurganadesh Deepika. Gopinath Acharya was the incarnation of Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe. He was one of the Navavyuhas and the knower of Tantras. In the opinion of others, he was Ratnavali Sakhi of Braja. As stated in the Gaur Ganodesh Deepika, Ratnavali, the Prana Sakhi of Braja, has now appeared as the pure learned Gopinath Acharya. Since Puripad came in the disciplic succession of the senior Vaishnava Sri Madhva Muni, he is included in the Brahma Sampradaya, which is one of the 4 authorized Sampradaya. As a subordinate Vaishnava lives in the house of his guru, Puripad lived for a few months in Navadvip in the house of Gopinath Bhattacharya, the incarnation of Lord Brahma. So Gopinath Bhattacharya is identified as the incarnation of Ratnavali Sakhi and Lord Brahma. Last verse for today. Sabe bada ullasita dekite tahane Prabhu o dekita nitya chalena apne. Everyone was overjoyed to see him. See whom? To see Ishwarapuri. And the Lord would also go regularly visit him. Visit him where? In the house of Gopinath Acharya. So we'll stop here and then we'll continue the story tomorrow. Hare Krishna. 10 minutes, okay? Any questions, comments, realizations? Please go ahead.
Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. Mataji, I just had this confusion. Mataji, wasn't Haridas Thakur the incarnation of Brahma and Gopinath Acharya also the incarnation of Brahma? Okay.
You will find many such overlaps. Haridas Thakur was an incarnation of Brahma and Prahlad, and Gopinath Acharya is an incarnation of Brahma and Ratnavali Sakhi. So different.
Okay, at the same time, because it's the same. Basically, the time scale is the same. Okay, and Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was Brihaspati.
Yeah.
Okay, correct. Fine. Thank you. I just had this confusion, so I thought let me clarify it.
How it works is different aspects of Lord Brahma, different aspects of a devotee are seen in that personality. Like, for example, different aspects of Prahlad Maharaj is seen in the life of Haridas Thakur. That's how we understand this.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I will hear the class is very, very nice. Thank you for giving auspicious class, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji, I have. Mataji, is Caitanya Bhagavata has been translated as many languages. Caitanya Bhagavata is available on market for buying to study.
Is Caitanya Bhagavata available in the market to buy and study? Yes, Prabhu, it is available.
In Hindi or in English are available?
It's available in English. In Hindi, I really don't know. Does anyone know if it's available in Hindi?
Mataji, it's a Bengali scripture.
Right. But translation in Hindi, is it available?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
okay,
but
Mataji. Thank you. Very good.
Available in English. You can purchase it from
English. Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I really like the class. It was really nice. And thank you for doing this class because I learned a lot from it.
Oh, thank you, Jahnavi. I'm so
Mataji,
glad that you came.
Mataji, can Bharana say?
Yes, buddy, tell me.
I really like your class so much, and I'm working on the card. See,
On the Teachers' Day card for everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Vrinda.
and I learned so much from your class, and I really like it. I like the story where you said like you were brahmachari, like not brahmachari, mommy, what did how I forgot. I like, mommy, you know, he was she asked that question.
Sudama.
Yeah. Yeah. Sudama was giving respect to Krishna.
Sudama, he was giving respect to Narada. So nice, right? So thank you so much, Vrinda, for your reflections. They are very, very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you, Mataji. Such a beautiful, beautiful. It's always sweet. All I have to say is it's sweet. And you know, you literally get into the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes and then Krishna's, you know, the similarities is so wonderful to hear it again and again. I want to thank you so much, Mataji. Very, very grateful for your association, Mataji.
Thank you, Anuradha Mataji. Thank you for hosting this call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Krishna Mataji, I have one question. Mataji, is in Chaitanya Charitamrita there is having 108 important slokas are available. I have completed Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. I need to study Chaitanya Charitamrita. 108 important slokas. Is there is available or not?
The shlokas, Suksangri Mataji, you're on the call, right? Mataji, so this Mataji, she teaches the important shlokas from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Mataji, do you have the important shlokas from Chaitanya Charitamrita? I'm sure Prabhupada important shlokas are there in a book. Mataji, can you share that book?
Yes, hi Krishna, Preethi, Danvat Pranam. Sorry, I stepped away for a minute. Yeah, there is a PDF. I can share it with you later. Will that work?
Yeah.
And it has all the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, all the often quoted verses of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. So Prabhuji, you can text one of us, or we can put it on the group. Are you there on the WhatsApp group, Prabhu?
I will share on the number and chat. Please send me on WhatsApp.
Okay, Prabhu. You send your number on the chat, and we'll send it to you.
Mataji, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu also has a book, like how he has Bhagavat Ratnamala. He has one. Chaitanya Charitamrita also he has a book.
Correct. Even I have that book actually.
Yes.
I can show you a picture of that book maybe. Chaitanya.
Yeah, there is many references online, Preeti. This is the one specifically I'm talking about. Prabhupada often quoted verses.
Yeah. You can send that, and we can also send a picture of Ratnamala if he wants to buy. So we can show him both, and he can choose to buy. I mean, I think Ratnamala should be an adaptation of what Prabhupada has actually given, often quoted verses. So.
Yeah, Ratnamala YouTube series is also there, I think.
Yeah, here, this is Ratnamala, just to show you. This is how the book looks. And you can buy it in Tulsi books, or you can YouTube series, like she's telling, right? YouTube series is there. Or you can attend Mataji's shloka classes. She also does shloka classes on Bhakti.
We can study this book also, Mataji, Chaitanya Charitamrita, for studying.
Prabhu, what is it?
We can use this material to study for Chaitanya Charitamrita to study well.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you.
We'll send you everything. If you text one of us, we can send.
Mataji, I sent you the PDF.
Prabhuji, are you in the WhatsApp group, Prabhu?
Yes, I will at the conference Javagurba at 6.
Number 6?
Okay, we will send there. I have that document, Mataji. I'm going to forward it.
Suksangri also just send the document, so you can send.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
हरे कृष्णा जी प्रीति विलासिनी गोपी कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम शिल प्रभुपाद श्री गुरुदेव की जय गोपीनाथ की जय माताजी वी आर नॉट क्वालिफाइड at least to read when we read Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Be honest, whether it's Sri Chaitanya Charanamrut or Chaitanya Bhagavat, not able to sit 15-20 minutes, and that also after that also not understand Mataji. But when we hear from you, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, Preethi Vilasini, all Bhakti Sangha teachers, Sukheswari Mataji and राधिका कस्तूरी माताजी वो डायरेक्ट डाइजेस्ट होता है माताजी, पर खुद जब पढ़ते हैं तो वो डाइजेस्ट नहीं होता है. दैट मच द फॉरेस्ट लास्ट बेंच स्टूडेंट. थैंक यू माताजी, थैंक यू फॉर योर डीप डीप डिवोशनल एसोसिएशन. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम टू यू. श्रील प्रभुपाद श्री गुरुदेव की जय, गोपीनाथ की जय. थैंक यू प्रीति विलासिनी. वो तो बहुत छोटा शब्द है माताजी, पूरे हृदय से जो आशीर्वाद निकलता है, दैट इज साइलेंट ब्लेसिंग फ्रॉम ऑल or those who are attending every day Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Shri Chaitanya Charanamrut, Shri Bhagavad Gita, Shri Bhagavatam, जो हृदय से निकलता है वो आशीर्वाद बोलने में नहीं आता है माताजी. And one more, I want to that Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances behalf of all Vaishnava. Sukheswari Mataji is every Wednesday teaching us the sloka. Prabhuji, हम 10 बार 15 बार पढ़ते हैं तो याद नहीं रहता है. But when the senior Vaishnava are teaching us with translation, and she is reading 3 times and everybody reading, even our Bal Vrinda and Shudevi are also there. They all are not ordinary personality, Prabhuji. When you attend that evening class 8:30 to, it is only half an hour, 8:30 to 9, Prabhuji. तो आपका हृदय को छू जाएगा सब श्री भागवत गीता से, श्री भागवतम से, श्री चैतन्य भागवत से, श्री चैतन्य चरणामृत से वो श्लोका है उसका ट्रांसलेशन सिखाते हैं वर्ड टू वर्ड. प्रभु जी, हरि हरि गौरांग दंडवत. Please attend each and every Vaishnava. It is not 1 hour, 2 hour. It is only from 8:30 to 9. Sukheswari Mataji teaching us every Wednesday evening class. Vinita Gopi is shared the link. Those who want to join. Hari Hari Gauranga Dhanvat.
So nice of you, Mataji. Thank you so much. And when we were talking about absorption, I was surely thinking about you, the kind of absorption that you showed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brinda Gopika Mataji. Mataji, if there are no more questions, shall we?
Yes.
The permission and all the Vaishnavas' permission. Vancha kalpataru vyasya kripa sindhu veva patitanam pavnevya Vaishnavya namo ananta koti Vaishnav Brinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
जय. Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji
गोपी की
ki
जय.
jai.
कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम राधे. हरि बोल.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Thank you,
Bol.
Mataji.
Thank
Happy
you so
Teachers Day,
much. Radhe
Mataji.
Radhe.
all
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
pranam.
Radhe
Hare
Radhe.
Krishna.
Bal Vrinda Sudevi Dhanvat.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today's class. We'll meet tomorrow for the Chaitanya Bhagavata.